Thanks to all of our panelists today. Let me just start by saying I appreciate the line of questioning that my friend and colleague, Senator Rounds from South Dakota, was just offering on our bill. Mr. Chair, I would say that I heard you say earlier that housing should be a nonpartisan issue, and I appreciate that. And I think that the bill that Senator Rounds and I have been working on with regard to rural housing actually completely fits that mold. It is not a bill. It is not a bill that is pushing any partisan interest. It is a bill that is really focused on protecting and preserving affordable housing that without which in rural communities people are literally not going to have a place to live. So I'm going to just follow up a bit on my colleague Senator Rounds' questions, Ms. Willis, if I could. And forgive me if I'm repeating because I was in transit as he was asking his questions, but who are the folks that are living in these rural housing service homes? Like who are we making sure have a roof over their heads and a safe place to call home with this program?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Senator. So we're talking about individuals and families who earn 30% AMI or less, or at the poverty line. So that's who we're talking about. And these are people who need stable, affordable homes.
So some of them are working families?
Very much so.
Many of them are already working. They're just working in low-wage jobs,
Absolutely.
Or they might be elders, right?
Absolutely, and that's what we're seeing. A lot of the people that we're talking about are people in the workforce, as you mentioned, with low-paying jobs. We're also talking, and this is maybe a third, when we're talking about ELI, extremely low-income individuals, we're talking about, again, 30% or less AMI. We're talking about 30% of them, or one-third, I should say, who are in the workforce, and maybe another third are our seniors, and another third students, or maybe people with disabilities, and also single caregivers.
Caregivers,
as
right.
well.
Right, thank you. I think that that's important because a lot of times we don't really think about who exactly we are making sure have a safe place to call home with these, with this effort. And could you just comment briefly on how important it is to, and we talk about adding affordable places for people to live, a housing supply problem, but I think we don't talk often enough about how we need to preserve the housing that we have so that it doesn't go away, exacerbating the challenges that we have.
Right, that's right. And that would certainly exacerbate the challenge because, again, in terms of with these we're talking about rural communities and these expiring USDA mortgages. We want to be able to keep a housing stock affordable to people with the lowest incomes. And I know that your bill, the Rural Housing Services Reform Act, it really allows households to continue to receive rental assistance,
right.
Even when those property mortgages mature. And so that's important. And so that's about the preservation of housing. And so that's why a bill like the Rural Housing Service Reform Act is critical to these communities.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Dr. Glazer, I wanted to talk with you a bit about the challenges that we have in helping to increase the supply of housing. I actually think this is another place where Democrats and Republicans agree that I think Ranking Member Warren made this point in her opening comments that if you have an imbalance between demand and supply, prices are going to go up, and that's going to create the problems that we have here. And I'm very proud that my hometown of Minneapolis has tackled some of the zoning reforms that are necessary to make it easier to build housing, all different kinds of housing to address the challenges that we have. So could you just talk a little bit about how you see this, how you see this issue and what we should be paying attention to, and maybe just a bit on how we can innovate in the way that we build housing?
Thank you, Senator. That's a great question. And I think I want to use this opportunity to say a word for modular housing.
Yes.
In fact, we have modular housing has lots of capacity to be attractive. It can be differentiated. We can do lots of great things with it, and we can do it cheaply. Economists since Adam Smith have known that mass production is a critical path towards affordability. And yet we make it extraordinarily difficult to produce mass-produced housing, both because of local zoning rules and because of HUD regulations. Both of them are at play. The chairman of the Illinois Housing Authority is working to make sure that public housing in the city of Chicago is actually built using modular housing, which I think is an exciting move. I would love to see a state that decided to champion, statewide zoning. So if you have 1,000 square foot hut, you can put the following 4 models of modular housing down. I would love to see something that sort of enabled scale economies yet again in housing. And getting back to Senator Kim's question earlier about housing for poor people, modular housing provides an amazingly good way of providing starter homes and sort of easy to buy things for people who are not of extravagant means.
Our public housing authority in Minneapolis has been using modular housing to build scattered site housing in neighborhoods, thanks to the new zoning laws that we have that are less expensive, they're high quality, and the construction can be completed in roughly 75% of the time, which also then helps to reduce costs.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
On behalf of the chairman, Senator